Okay, here we are on page 5 of the dispersion bookwork. And let's see, we are going to start on cumulative frequency graphs. Cumulative frequency graphs basically just graph the cumulative frequency. And if you remember, the cumulative frequency is just the frequency added together, starting from the beginning to the end. And that's kind of hard to understand, but let me try to show you how you do that. So, for example, for this problem, they say that the safari park is open to visitors, and every day of the year they keep track of how many cars go through the park, and then they count how many days had how many number of cars. So you can see from this table that there were 25 days that had 0 to 150 cars, and there were 36 days that had 150 to 300 cars. Now, what do you do in a cumulative frequency graph? What you do is, instead of having groups like this, uh, you you make it so that the first group would be like all the days that had less than or equal to 150 um, cars. And then the next one would be all the days that had less than 300 cars. And then the next one would be all the days that had less than 450 cars. So you see, instead of having a range of minimum to maximum, you just include everybody that had up to that many cars. And so, like the first one is the exact same as that one. So the frequency would just be 25, just like the one on the left. This would be the cumulative frequency. Okay. The second one, you would have to add 25 and 36. So you would end up with 61. Okay. And then like the next one, you would add up the first three numbers. So you would add 68 on top of that. That would be 129. Okay. And so on. So like for the left side, you would just write the maximums, right? So like you would take the maximum of each one, and that would become the upper limit of each of these ranges. And then the cumulative frequency, we would just start adding up. So 129 plus 102 would be 231. 231 plus 64 would be 295. And 295 plus 41, 336. You could just do this with your calculator, right? 355 and 365. Now, why is it that the last cumulative frequency, 365? Well, remember, they counted up, or they did this for every single day of the year. So the total number of days analyzed is 365, the number of days in a year. Okay, so this would be number of cars, just like in the left one. And then the right side would be cumulative frequency, and we are going to graph this on the graph paper here. And then you will see why it's useful to graph this. So on the left side, we are going to do the frequencies. So the frequencies here are range about from 0 to 365. So I think the easiest thing to do is just to divide it up into hundreds. Okay, from 100, 200, 300, 400. And that would be the frequency, right? And the bottom would be the number of cars, the x-axis. So the number of cars ranges from 0 to 1200. Okay, and so each one of these would be 100. So is it 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000, 1100. Okay, and now I'm going to start plotting the points. The way I plot the points is I'm going to plot 150, 25, 300, 61, 450, 129. And the first point I'm going to plot is 0, 0. So the first point is 0, 0. Next point is 150, 25. That would be about here, right? Then I would do 300, 61. 300, comma, 61 would be about there. 450, 129. So 450 would be about here. 129 would be about there. 600, comma, 231. 750, 295. 900, comma, 336. 1050, 355. And then finally 1200 and 365. So if you connected these lines, or these points, you will see that it's kind of not a straight line. It's more of a S-shaped curve where the slope gets gradually smaller and smaller as it goes up. Okay. Okay, and then now we're going to start answering the questions. Okay, and we'll see why the cumulative frequency graph is useful. It's useful to answer these kind of questions. For example, find the median and interquartile range. Okay, looking at this table, you cannot quickly find the median, but looking at this graph, you can. Let me show you how. The maximum value is 365. I'm going to mark it right here just so that you kind of know where it is. So if I wanted to know what the median car is, okay, I would mark it at about halfway between 0 to 365, which would be about 187. So I'm going to mark 187 here. Okay, and then I'm going to take a ruler, and it's kind of hard to do on the iPad, but if I had a ruler, I would do 187, and I would draw a horizontal line across, and then when I hit the blue line, I'm going to go down. Now you remember this from the investigation, right? So I use this purple line, I go right till I hit the blue line, and then I go down until I hit the x-axis. And it looks like I'm hitting a number about 540 maybe, okay? So I'm going to say that the median is 540, about, okay? And then it asks me the IQR. Now remember the IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Q3 minus Q1, I would have to take numbers that are halfway between the median and the maximum. So for example, the maximum is 365. The median index is 187. So that would be 178, and then I multiply it by half. Okay, so like 89 plus 187 would be the Q1. Okay, it would be about 276. So I'm going to find the Q3 here. I remember from the investigation, the way you find the Q3 index is you take the total number, which is 365, you add 1, and then you divide by, or you multiply times 3/4. Okay, so that's how you get the 276. Okay, and then to find the Q1 index, you multiply the same thing by 1/4. Okay, so it's 366 times 1/4, and it'd be about 91. So I'm going to draw the Q1 line about here. Okay, and so that the Q3 would be about, if I eyeball, it's about 710. And the Q1 is about 370 maybe. Okay, so the IQR is equal to 710 minus 370. That would be 340. So I would say the IQR is 340. So we answered question B by using these purple arrows. Okay, so remember that this is the Q1 index, this is the median index, and this is the Q3 index. The way I found that is I took 365, I divided it into fourths. Okay, on what percentage of days was there more than 800 cars in the car park? Now we're going to go kind of in the opposite direction. So 800 days, 800 cars corresponds to this point here, right? So now I'm going to draw a line going up. Oops, and I didn't draw it very well. It's supposed to be on top of this line. I draw it up until I hit the blue curve, and then I draw over, and then I'm going to see what index of car it corresponds to. It looks like it corresponds to exactly 300 pretty much. So I'm going to say that what percent of days were there more than 800 cars? So more than 800 cars would be from 800 to 1200, right? So that corresponds to the 300th car to the 365th car, 300 to 365th car, right? I'm sorry, the 300th to the 365th day, right? So that's about 65 days, okay? And so 65 days divided by 365 days would give you the percentage of days that were over 800. So it would be 17.8%, okay? 17.8%, about, okay? So about 17.8% of the days there were more than 800 cars in the park. Okay, I took a little bit more time on that one because it's our first one, but the others are just very similar. Let's go to the next one. Sophia studied an article in the Helsingborg Dagblad. She recorded the numbers of words in each sentence in the frequency table. And then draw a cumulative frequency graph to represent this information. Work out the lower quartile, the median, the upper quartile of the data. Okay, now remember, when you have data classes like this that do not touch the other data class, neighboring data class, then you need to divide it by 0.5, right? So like the number between this data class and this data class would be like 4.5. So what we would write is number of words is less than, we could just write less than because the number of words is always going to be, the number of words is always going to be an integer. So we could just put n is less than 4.5, n is less than 8.5, n is less than 12.5, 16.5, 20.5, 24.5, 28.5, 32.5, 36.5. Okay, and the frequencies, we're going to put cumulative frequencies here. This is the number of words. The cumulative frequencies are going to be 4, that's the easy one, right? Then 19 plus 4, which would be 23. And then 4 plus 19 plus 38, which would be 61. And then we would do like 61 plus 23, which would be 84. And so on. Then we'll just like use the calculator and we figure out the cumulative frequencies for this table. You can see that at the end it doesn't grow very much. Okay, and then we're going to graph it similar to how we graphed it last time. So remember, the frequency goes over here and the data goes over here. So the data in this case is the number of words. So the number of words, we'll put, first mark we'll put 4.5, next mark we'll put 8.5, and then the next mark we'll put 12.5, 16.5, 20.5, next mark's 24.5. Terrible writing, sorry about that. It's 28.5. And the last one is 32.5. Oops, and I didn't calculate that right. The last one is 36.5. Okay, so let's graph these now. Remember, we're graphing the cumulative frequency. We'll make the top level 100, and then so 50 would be kind of in the middle here, okay? So the first one would be 4, 4.5, comma 4, and remember 0, usually just we mark 0, 0. 8.5, the point we're trying to graph would be 23. 12.5, what we're trying to graph is 61. 16.5 will graph 84. 20.5 will graph 92. 24.5 will graph 96. 28.5 will graph 98. And 32.5 will graph 99. And 36.5 is 100. Okay, now we use the blue pen and we will connect these points, and you can see that it looks kind of like an S-shaped curve again. And then we're going to answer the questions. The questions being lower quartile, median, upper quartile is what they want to see. So we use purple again. And so the median, remember, we just take the middle frequency. In this case, it's easy. It's 50. And then we use the first the arrow to the right, then the arrow down, and we can see that it is about at maybe 9. Okay, so we'll say that the median is about 9. No, not 9, I'm sorry. It's more like 10.5, a little bit higher than 10.5, so maybe 11. And then we'll do 75 for Q3. It would be about there, right? It's really nice when they give us a cumulative frequency that adds up to 100, right? It's easier to do these graphs. So this would be about a little bit more than 14.5, maybe 15. That would be Q3. What about Q1? Q1 is at 25. It's about there. And then that would be like maybe 9. Okay, I'm just eyeballing these. Okay, they don't have to be super exact. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do it really exactly. But so this answers question B, right? Okay, moving on to the last one on this page. A salmon farmer records the lengths of 100 salmon measured to the nearest centimeter. The results are given in the table. Construct a cumulative frequency table for the data in the table. Draw a cumulative frequency curve, and then find the median and IQR. So you've already seen pretty much everything they're going to ask you about cumulative frequency graphs. Basically asking you median and IQR, and maybe some percentages. Okay. So in this case, we're going to draw a similar table as before. So the data is going to be length of salmon, X, okay? And so the first field is going to be less than or equal to 28. So X is less than or equal to 28. The next one's going to be 31. The next one's going to be 34. The next one's going to be 37. Then 40. Then 43. Then 46. And 49. And then we're going to total up the frequency. So the first frequency is really easy, right? It's 3, just like in this one is 3. But the cumulative frequency for the second one, we have to add 3 plus 4, right? We have to add the first 2. And the next one, we add the first 3, so that would be 18. And so on. And then you can start using your calculator. 3, 7, 18, 41, 69, 84, 96, and 100. Okay? And then to graph these, again, it's just like we did before. The frequencies go on the y-axis. The data goes on the x-axis, so it would be length of salmon, right, x. And then let's see if we mark the frequencies to go from 0 to 100. The x-axis goes from 0 to, let's see, the biggest number is like 49. Let's see. I'm not going to start it at 0 because do you see how like the range starts from like 25? And let's see. So I'm going to put 49 here, 46, 43, 40, 37, 34, 31, 28. Okay, and so this first position would be approximately 25, right? Okay. Now I'm going to graph the points. So the 28 point would be 28,3. So I would put that about there. 31,7 would be about there. 34,18 would be about there. 37,41 about there. 40,69. Let's see, that would be very close to 70 right there. 43,84, that would be about there. And 4696 would be about there, and 49100 would be right there. And then we use blue to connect. And again, it's kind of an S-shaped curve. And then we are going to use purple to find the median and the IQR. So the median, we just start from the 50 because 50 is halfway between the 100 and 0. Again, when the frequency is 100, it's particularly easy to do this part. We're going to eyeball that. It's about 38 maybe. I would say it's maybe 38.5. So the median is going to be 38.5. And then we do the Q3. Oops, and we would try to draw a straight line with a ruler, but since I don't have a ruler here, I would say that's about 41.5. So that's Q3. And what about Q1? Q1 is here at 25, right? That's not a very straight line. That's about 35.5. Okay. And so the IQR is, remember, is Q3 minus Q1. So 41.5 minus 35.5 would be 6, IQR of 6. Okay? So, and the median is 38.5. Those are the two things that we've been asked for.